Today's special pre-holiday episode of the Bill Simmons podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor and favorite app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. With SeatGeek Marketplace, sell your tickets without getting hijacked by ridiculous after the sale costs. Go to SeatGeek.com/BS to learn how to buy and sell on SeatGeek. And don't forget to download the free SeatGeek app. Enter promo code BS and SeatGeek will send you $20 once you've made your first purchase. Today's episode is also brought to you by SimpliSafe, the best way to protect your home without writing huge checks or signing long-term contracts with no way out. Seriously, why wouldn't you want a home security system that gives you 24/7 protection for just $14.99 per month? That's less than half what most companies charge. Visit simplysafebill.com and get an exclusive offer for 10% off. Finally, a home security system you can trust. Again, simplysafebill.com. Let's go.
Yeah. Clear enough for you?
All right. So we named the Joe House Pod Friday Rolling, and we did the first one with Friday Rolling on a Thursday, and then the second one on a Tuesday. I don't know what to say other than...
This one's special, though. This one's the Yuletide roll.
Yeah, well, the holidays screw everything up. Eventually we'll be on a Friday schedule for Friday Rolling, but right now we're taping this on a Tuesday because it's a holiday week, and I'm not positive people are listening to podcasts this week. I guess we'll find out. But we're going to do some NBA awards. At the tail end, we're going to pick 3 games of interest for Week 16, which we have not had a lot of time to prep. But we do have 3 games a piece that we like. I wanted to talk NBA. We are at pretty much the 2-month mark. I guess the 8-week mark, the 9-week mark, something like that.
The 30-game mark.
Yeah. It's time to do some
We're
awards.
a third of the way.
Yeah. The 2-month awards?
It would have been a bird trimester. What was that thing that you and Jalen were calling it? But
the Birdmaster.
The Birdmaster.
Is it a Birdmaster?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not really a Birdmaster. We're only at
teams are 31 games in. There was only 82 games in the schedule.
Some of them have played like 27. We can't do that. Let's do the 2-month awards. It's such a catchy title.
The Christmas awards.
I want to do first team, second team, third team at All NBA first. Let's just get it out of the way. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
They changed the rules so that it could be 3 front court players and it didn't have to be a center.
I'm okay with that.
I think I still have a vote. I don't think they've rescinded my vote.
Oh.
I hope not. I'll go ham on that NBA team. How dare they rescind my vote? They can't rescind my vote. I like the spirit of that, but I still feel like if there's somebody who plays the 5 at least a little bit, that should get priority over just taking 3 forwards. Because you could just have LeBron, Kawhi, and Durant as the 3 forwards, but that doesn't feel like a basketball team to me. Where do you stand on this?
It is a basketball team. Of course, it's a basketball team. That's what the current iteration of the National Basketball Association.
No, I know,
presents.
but it's like, can I have somebody? Can I have somebody who could potentially guard Andre Drummond on my first team All NBA?
Well, Kevin Durant. That's silly.
Yeah,
I was going to try and do Kevin Durant can guard him, but he can't guard him.
Well, he might have earned this spot anyway. So here's my first team, and you can disagree. I have Draymond in the first team. I have LeBron and Kawhi. I have Curry. And I have Russell Westbrook. And many apologies to Paul George.
Oh, that was my guy. That's who's going in for me in place of Draymond.
Okay, so...
Because I'm not making it position specific.
Okay. Well, you could talk me into that. Talk me into that right now.
It's the way the league is right now, and I think you'll be accommodated this way. You just said so. If you actually have a vote, it should just be the best 5 guys. And looking back, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, in whatever version of the game is being played, it will be helpful to people looking back to say, oh, that was the era of pace and space. That was the era where they valued, guys who could shoot 3-pointers as much as anything else. And it will help folks understand, what the game was all about in 2015. So I'm cool with it that way.
All good points. Here's my counter. The Warriors just had the greatest start in the history of the league. They are 26-1 right now. they have 3 elite guys. I think they have 3, I would say, top 12 guys in the league. And I want to reward at least 2 of those guys with my first team spot. Now, the Draymond thing's interesting because heart and soul of the team, leader. I personally witnessed multiple games where he just wouldn't let them fold. I think the Boston game's a really good example. He's just the best guy in the court in that game, and had what did he have? The 5 fives, the 5 blocks, 5 steals, whatever the hell he had that game. Yeah. The swagger that he brings to the table, I don't want to say intimidation, but just the competitiveness, and he's the alpha dog of that team. He's an unbelievable defensive player. His versatility allows them to do everything that they do. The lineup of death only works because he can play center and play the 5 and guard all types of different guys. He can guard really any type of player on a team. Like, they were playing the Bucks the other night, and at some point Giannis was really catching fire. I mean, that Bucks Warriors, both of those games were really good, but Giannis was really starting to take over a little bit. They just threw Draymond on him, and that was it. So I have that, and then also, so he's averaging basically 14 and 9, but he's also averaging 7.1 assists. So I looked this up, and this has only happened 21 times in the history of the NBA, where somebody has averaged 14, 7, and 8. And the guys on the list are like Wilt, Oscar, LeBron, Larry Bird, Grant Hill, Magic, Havlicek, Fat Lever 3 times, which is
I was going to say there's going to be some randoms in there too.
That's
I think Darryl Walker had a season like that.
No, Fat Lever is the only real random.
All right.
But anyway, it's 7 assists as a forward.
Yeah, it's special. The problem I have, and it's not fair, but when we're trying to come up with the most outstanding players, this is a player award in the first place. He's not in the top 40 of PER. Not that PER is the only measure. So you're giving him, you're putting him in the top 5 of a player award on what he brings to the table with intangibles and the enormous contribution he makes chemistry wise, and he is, I think it's fair to say, the fuse that lights that candle. So
you would say
candle.
he's more of an MVP pick than a first team All NBA pick.
That's precisely what I'm getting at.
Okay, I respect your opinion.
It's a good argument to say that he's the MVP of the Dubs, which is a kind of a crazy thing to say, but I think you could make the argument.
Paul George, 25.5 points a game, 7.8 rebounds, 4 assists, 22.7 PR, which is good, not unbelievable. Elite defense. He's been a crunch time guy. That team is flawed, but they're I think 4 or 5 games over 500. I'm sticking with Draymond. I don't think he's going to end up as my first team All NBA guy because I don't think the Warriors can sustain this pace. But if they do, I really want to have 2 Warriors in my first team All NBA. So I'm just I'm playing it that way. Second team.
Go ahead.
Paul George and Durant. Drummond has to be on the second team, right? He's averaging 18-16. And that Detroit team's a playoff team.
And a legit playoff team. Going to be a tough out if everybody's healthy.
I looked this up for Drummond. You think 18 and 16? Wow, those are really good stats. Well, they haven't happened since Moses Malone in 1979. Nobody's averaging 18-16 since Moses Malone. So that seems relevant to the discussion.
That's pretty good.
And you look at all the guys who have done it, and it's like Kareem, Wilt, basically all the guys from the 70s and earlier, because there were more rebounds available. If you go look at the stats, like people are taking 120 shots a game. It's stupid. But the rebounds were way up. So nobody's done that. Nobody did it in the 80s. Nobody did it in the 90s. Nobody did it in the 2000s. And he's doing it right now. You could argue that his free throw shooting is the turd in the punch bowl of the Andre Drummond
small distraction.
Yeah, he's like 39%. But I have him in that spot over Cousins. You could argue that you don't even need a center, but I do feel like him and Cousins have been the only 2 really dominant centers. So I have Drummond, George, Durant, Klay Thompson, and Kyle Lowry. What do you think of that? So I pushed CP3 and Butler to the third team.
You know what's funny is very quietly, Houston's been on a roll.
Oh, you little Harden, sniff a Harden?
Yeah, little smell, little sniff.
Okay. I'm penalizing him for being fat and dating Khloe Kardashian. I'm not putting him on any of my 3 teams.
You're giving him, since this is only the Christmas award, you're going to, that's fair. He didn't show up. Well, the Rockets didn't show up the first 15 games.
He'll end up on one of those 3 teams. Yeah, he'll end up on one of the 3 teams, but it's a 2-month mark, and he got a coach fired. His teammates, at least for the first month of the season, just looked absolutely miserable playing with him. I thought he was a ball hog. I thought he was out of shape. I think he's rallied back, but I can't reward him. What do you think about?
They might be in the middle of that run we talked about, by the way. We talked about the possibility of Houston ripping off like a 22-8 run. I think they're 10-4 over the last 14.
Well, they have a couple of things going on. Monty Eunice finally came back. Clint Capella's running for bench guy of the year. We're going to get to that, even though he's started some of the games. But they have some wrinkles. They have some weird lineups they can throw out, and
they have a great big move waiting to happen.
They have a big trade waiting to happen. They've lost some awful games. I think they've lost to Denver at least twice, maybe even 3 times. They've lost to Brooklyn twice. It's embarrassing.
Twice. I mean, it's just indefensible.
So I got Drummond, George Durant, Klay Thompson, and skinny Kyle Lowry. I'm rewarding Kyle Lowry. Once again, congratulations, Kyle Lowry, for getting in shape this season. We're all really proud of you for making $12 million a year and getting in shape.
Was not out of shape last season and had a pretty damn good season. He earned the contract that he got. He just made a commitment to be a slightly different body type this year, and it seems to have paid dividends.
Third team, I'm not attached to this. Well, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, CP3, who's having the worst CP3 year in a while, is 17-9. If you go see him in person, we'll talk about this in a second. And then Jimmy Butler, who I think has really busted his ass on a really screwed up Chicago team that is very poorly coached and the pieces don't fit. And that's another team that needs a trade. I have Boogie as the center on that team, but is there anyone you'd want to throw in there instead of Boogie?
No, because you can't put Hassan Whiteside ahead of Boogie.
Oh, God, no. Stop. No, please.
No. Well, no.
Oh, for a center, you mean?
I'm saying, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that's
still don't
where
like
we are
it.
Class-wise.
Tate, should we edit that out? Should we edit that out? I don't like the house point there. Do we
How
have
are
to
you
save
trying
house?
to, like, if you try and stick with a center, what are the options? It's Dwight Howard, Hassan Whiteside, who else?
Dwight Howard.
You want to call Greg Monroe a center?
You just told me you didn't want centers.
Right, I agree. I agree with it. I'm saying.
All right, so yeah, I don't really know who else we'd throw in on that one. I mean, you could make a Slate Bosch case. He's been really good in Miami.
You know who I like that it doesn't quite crack these teams, but I just want to give another shout out. I did it once the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Dirk is just out of his mind.
I know.
I mean, as much as anything, he gets so much credit for the Frankenstein that is the Dallas Mavericks. You just can't kill him. I love it.
Non-Curry MVP.
Yep. I know who my answer is already.
You can choose from LeBron, Kawhi, Westbrook, Paul George, or Draymond.
Kawhi.
Okay.
Kawhi.
Yeah, I owe you an apology. I talked you out of us putting a 50-1 bet on Kawhi for MVP, and he's in the mix.
Still mad about that.
Yeah. But you're not going to win anyway, because Curry's going to win unless he gets hit by a Mack truck or Khalil Mack. He's got to get by a Mack truck or Khalil Mack.
But on the other hand, I could have been $5,000. But you saved me $100, so thank you for that.
Yeah, Curry's going to win.
I agree.
Kawhi, 21 points, 7.4 rebounds, 2 steals. And he's 51, 47, 88 on the percentages. But borderline.
The defense is the thing. Did you see what he did to Paul George last night? This makes me want to drop Paul George, by the way. I made an argument for him. Maybe I'm going to read.
Yeah, put Draymond in there. Come on, join me in the Draymond.
No, I wouldn't put Draymond in there. I might actually, honestly, slide Drummond in. I would prefer Drummond to Draymond. I mean, I'm just saying.
I can't shake my head. Boogie manhandled Drummond in that one game. I watched that second half of that game. He kind of took it to him a little bit.
Well, the free throws are a thing too. I'm not. You can't have a sub 40%. Does Shaq ever shoot under 40%? When he was all team.
I mean, it's
first
just
NBA,
an atrocity to go under 40%.
It is. It's.
I feel like my daughter.
It's almost
could do
like
better
it's
than that.
intentional.
Yeah, it's just awful.
Anyway, Paul George last night 1 for 14 from the field with Kawhi on him.
Yeah, and you wanted to put him on the first team. I have my non-Curry MVP. I have LeBron, then Kawhi,
That's fine.
and then I have Draymond Green.
It doesn't make me feel like a jerk going against LeBron. I'm just recognizing the continued ascendance of Kawhi. I have a slight preference for the ascendance of a player, a guy that's grabbing the mantle. But LeBron has been spectacular as ever. I love where Cleveland is, and Kyrie's back. So all of a sudden, Cleveland, this Christmas game is going to be delightful.
I know. We're going to make picks at the end of this. So
The basketball game picks, the 5-game picks.
We're gonna rank the Christmas games at the end of this.
Oh, great.
So LeBron's career stats: 27, 7, and 7, basically. 50% shooting. His stats this year: 26.5, 7.5, 6.5, 50% shooting. He's basically having the same year he always has. The only thing is his three-point shooting's been really bad this year. It's 27% three-point shooting. But we've officially now never seen anybody put together the 13 years that LeBron just did. Because Kareem had a run, which I think was 11 years, where year 11 was right up there with all the other years. And they won the title, the whole thing. LeBron, 13 straight years of just ridiculousness with no real injuries, no real drop off.
That's the point. So that's why I like the Kareem comparison, because Kareem is the only player that comes to mind as a guy that might have played within 10% of the same number of games as LeBron over this period of time.
Durability.
LeBron's teams have been to the finals so many times. LeBron has played on gold medal teams. How many now? 3?
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing in the international games. He's playing in the Olympics. His season is absolutely year-round now.
I think
that's what makes him so legendary to me.
Yeah, just not breaking down is we're in this modern era of these guys can take care of their bodies in all these different ways. Don't laugh, House. And
all these different ways.
He's been the beneficiary of dieting advancements, sleep advancements, training advancements, equipment advances.
He's also the beneficiary of being a genetic freak. He hit the genetic lottery. He's 260 pounds.
Yep.
It seems like his natural carrying weight. And in terms of body type and the durability thing, I understand how silly it is, but Karl Malone has the same kind of body type,
right?
And Karl Malone is pretty effing durable.
Will Chamberlain, same thing.
Games.
Well, that Wilt did blow out something at some point, but yeah, I always wonder, like, you take some of those 80s guys, like Larry Bird, who was drinking beer during the summer and didn't really start working out till the tail end of his prime. If he had all the things that these guys have now, I wonder, does his body break down? Does he have like a Dirk kind of career? Like Dirk's putting up 17 and 7, borderline 50, 40, 90 club. This is year 17, 18 for him. He was in the same draft as Paul Pierce.
To be fair, Bird had things available to him. He just didn't take advantage. I mean, he's not a guy that at any point in his career, even in college, you thought, let's see, LB can walk around with his shirt off. I don't think you ever wanted Larry Bird to walk around with his shirt off. Jordan worked his ass off.
He did.
From the minute that he hit the league. He was in the gym. Larry was in the gym, too. Larry was shooting. MJ was doing full-body workouts from the moment he hit the door.
No, he started that like in about all this stuff started in the 1990s, because I think Jordan and Karl Malone were the first two. Yeah, because Jordan started doing it because the Pistons were beating the shit out of him.
Yes, they were.
So I think it was like somewhere around 90 he started. That's when he hooked up with Tim Grover.
Though.
Yeah, well, it was like 90, 91 range, and and Karl Malone. You look at Karl Malone in the mid 80s, and he was skinny but still had that body. Like you could see where his body was headed. But even last night I went to the Clippers Thunder game, which I want to talk about at some point. But
I watched the whole thing and enjoyed it so much.
the guys are just built so much differently now. We were talking. I was with Tolan. We were talking about it, like Ibaka, Durant, Westbrook, Blake Griffin. These guys are just ripped now. Yeah, I want to talk about that game. Hold that thought. So, Coach of the Year, Carlisle, right? Because I don't know what to do with the Golden State thing. We're really going to give Luke Walton Coach of the Year. I feel like he goes in the locker room at halftime and Steve Kerr just tells him 7 things as Luke Walton nods.
Yeah, the funny thing would be Kerr, to give it to Kerr for staying away and showing the world.
Carlisle's got to be running away with it. I mean, that
you have him ahead of SVG?
Huh?
I like an honorable mention to Stan Van Gundy.
Okay.
I mean, because I think he contributed to the idea of getting Reggie Jackson there. Reggie Jackson has been off the hook. I mean, he averaged 30 points last week. He won Eastern Conference Player of the Week.
Yeah, and he's not afraid. Like he reminds me of, he's a slightly better version of what the Celtics have in Isaiah Thomas, although that's not working out that great this season. But you need at least one guy on your team who's not afraid to take shots, and with 4 minutes left.
I mean, I'm giving an honorable mention to SVG the same way I give it to Skiles. SVG a little bit ahead because I just really think that Detroit is built for the long haul.
I have Carlisle.
I'm good with Carlisle.
I have Popovich second.
Yeah, sure.
Like a kind of sneaky, tough team to coach. He's got to worry about Aldridge and Duncan. He's got to make sure Duncan's okay with all of a sudden averaging 9 points a game. He's got to make sure David West is fine with just being completely expendable. He's managing the Manu thing. Manu's been a borderline 6 man of the year guy, even though his stats aren't great, but he's coming in and swinging close games still, which is amazing.
I am not going to say anything with the intention of demeaning or diminishing Pop's contribution, but everything you just described is Spurs system stuff.
No, I know, but they
deliberately went and get guys like West and Aldridge because those are mature guys who are going to have the patience to work themselves into the system. The thing that Pop gets the most credit for, and maybe they do it on a team basis, I don't know, but is managing the minutes for those guys. The rotating cast of 2 guys sit out, each game, which 2 need rest. It's just been spectacular. And the thing that I don't know who gets credit for this, but Tony Parker has been, night and day healthy difference in terms of the way he looks from as recently as the international competition from the end of summer. He looked terrible for France.
Yeah.
Physically,
I think the other sneaky thing with Pop is Aldridge is not an easy guy to coach, I don't think. I think there were a lot of scuttlebutt on him in Portland.
Well,
not a bad
let's
guy,
talk about
but
that
just
for
moody.
2 seconds. I'm not sure that he was ever comfortable as lead dog. He's found exactly the safest, most comfortable place. It's why I thought Phoenix was kind of a ridiculous situation for him.
Yeah.
As a potential destination. This Spurs team is the most comfortable situation possible based on ding-a-ling like me sitting at home watching games, thinking about the league. He never looked to me as a comfortable top banana.
Except for that Yahoo, the big piece that Wojnarowski wrote about him, why Aldridge left. It seemed like Aldridge really resented how much they pushed Damian Lillard in Portland and all the billboards and stuff. So it's like he's not comfortable as a top dog, but then also wants all the spoils of being a top dog. I think he's a moody, complicated guy. And for whatever reason in the Spurs, he's cool. It's like, all right.
Yeah, he's being stroked. He's being groomed.
One thing I loved, I tweeted about this last week. Somebody was saying, I think Barkley was saying about how Popovich was telling Kawhi the most important thing for him is like, when we run a play for you, the play is for the Spurs to score, not for you to score.
Yeah, that was Barkley last week.
Yeah, and Popovich was like, once he understood that, he took off. And I thought that was really, really a really cool way to put it and a cool way to think about basketball. It's like, you're our guy, but our goal is to score in these plays, not for you to score, not for you to take your dude one-on-one. You have to create points for us. And Kawhi does that.
I think about the IQ of Kawhi to understand that and execute it. It's kind of one thing to hear it and process it. But it goes to, again, that Spurs system. He's the right kind of guy with the right kind of grooming from the moment he arrived as a rookie to understand that and implement it. Pretty good.
Biggest disappointment of the year. Here are the candidates. Anthony Davis's MVP season. I feel disappointed in that, as well as our New Orleans over bet that I think we made.
Only one of us had made that bet.
The Clippers. The Rockets. Darren Williams being good again. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that he's good again. I don't know why. I'm being spiteful. The Kings not being funnier. I really thought I was going to have more laughs with the Kings this year. It's gone the other way, and in fact, the Bill Kennedy thing was probably the darkest moment of the last couple seasons. So not a lot of laughs with the Kings. And then last but not least, Phoenix, who had a really fun, weird team of competitive guys and young guys and assets, and they had the Lakers pick, and now they don't have the Lakers pick. They have this Knight Bledsoe thing, which is fun, but not really something that's going to win you the title. And they dropped all this money on Tyson Chandler, who's like, I don't know if he's just banged up or breaking down or what happened, but that is a red flag contract and a half. They gave him what did they give him? $60 million or something? $50 million?
Yeah, Phoenix has been on a curious run this is the third season going on now.
You just what's the plan? What's your
right?
They went and spent all that money.
What's the plan team?
Yeah, they spent all that money on Chandler partly because they thought it was going to help them get Aldridge. Then they didn't get Aldridge. And if you'd watched Tyson Chandler closely the last couple of years, he wasn't the same guy that he was, on that Mavs 2011 team.
I'll never get over. They started last season with 3 point guards, and only one of them is still on the team.
And Dragic guarding small forwards. So what's your biggest disappointment?
To me, it's Houston. I just. It's indefensible that they showed up with such a lack of enthusiasm for the season.
Right, after being a Final Four team.
Right, and had there's only the window of opportunity. We've seen this in the NBA is so short, so tight.
Yeah,
you got to jump through. Once you're through, you got to stay through. This is in a very small way the same kind of complaint with my local team, the Almost Bullets. They've been challenged by injuries, but they're sort of foreseeable injuries. Nene's hurt. Okay, strained calf. I don't know what that means. He's had a strained calf, I think, for the last 14 years, and Beal with recurring leg injuries. But for Houston, you go from a Final Four team to mediocre 500 team in the matter of really, 3 months. It's extremely disappointing. And I don't fault what Daryl's been trying to do one bit. I thought that the Ty Lawson edition was terrific. It seems like they have some sorting out to do still in terms of the Alpha Dog thing and Chris Sheridan's report about your boy Dwight, not being happy and all the rest of it. I mean,
Dwight's never happy.
Dwight's never happy. Perpetually unhappy Dwight.
He's one of those women who just keeps having new boyfriends and just can't settle down, or vice versa. A guy who keeps having girlfriends and just finds things to complain about with the new one, and it's just like, you're probably never getting married. It doesn't seem like anyone's ever marrying Dwight.
That seems right. I mean, unless he ends up in a place where the pressure is completely off, like Brooklyn, where he's just the man and he just goes in and collects his, 16-12s every night, and his team stinks. Maybe that's where he's going to be most comfortable. I don't know.
Let's save the Dwight talk for it, because that's coming up in a second. I have my biggest disappointment is that Anthony Davis has not been that good this season. I haven't seen him with that there's no way we're losing this effing game type of edge to him. When I turn the channel, he just seems kind of complacent's the wrong word, just accepting of that he's not on a good team. And I don't know if he's going to be an all-time guy or one of the best guys of his generation, or if he's even in the Durant conversation. Forget about the LeBron, Jordan, top 20 guys of all time conversation, but just like one of the best guys of his generation conversation. It's really tough to think he's going to be on like a 27-win team. It's not a common thing for great players. I know. Go ahead, defend him.
Slight defense. I mean, the Pelicans have been in disarray. They've been discombobulated since really August, September. They had so many guys hurt, and guys are now sort of rolling back into health. But they haven't had the team that they imagined, maybe like back in July. They haven't had that team yet. And add on top of that, Alvin Gentry's in with a new system, new emphasis.
Raul Bob does not like him.
Bob is down on AG.
What I needed from Davis that I'm just not getting are the 3 games a month where he just beats somebody by himself. Where he's just like, oh, Davis had 38, 19, and 7 assists and single-handedly beat whoever tonight. That hasn't been happening, and I'm starting to wonder, well, he's young, so it's you don't want to give up on it yet, but I'm starting to wonder maybe he's one of those guys that he's better with better guys, which is fine because I think most guys qualify for that, but I wonder if he's not a guy like Durant reached a point where if you just threw him with a mediocre team, he'd still be able to drag you to 42, 43 wins. You know, he was there from the time he was like 23, 24, and I think Westbrook is like that too, and really any great player can drag a team to 500 or a little bit better, and Davis isn't doing that. I don't know, I'm disappointed. I thought he was slightly better, so maybe he'll go on a run now. This is why we're doing the 2-month awards, because that'd
be fun.
But
I'm rooting for it.
I feel like he's drifting during some of these games. That's what he might be.
They're not competitive.
It's a little too polite. You know, at some point he'd be like, "Hey, Tyreek Evans, give me the fucking ball. What are you doing? Give me the ball. I'm Anthony Davis. I'm one of the 5 best players in the league. Get out of my way." I'd like to see that a couple times. Most gratifying non-Golden State situation. Here are the candidates. Kawhi is a crunch time guy. We covered that. The Paul George comeback. We covered that. Flip Saunders rebuilding the Timberwolves and leaving a really nice legacy of an awesome roster that those fans are going to enjoy for the next 12 to 15 years. The Knicks fans, after just a horrendous century, really off. From the moment James Dolan bought the team, just one awful thing after another. And then Porzingis comes in. They finally have some hope. And then finally, last but not least, KD and Russ back, doing their thing again. So what do you got?
I love OKC. That game last night reminded me. I love those 2 guys being back.
Yeah.
Playing the way that they're playing, the symphony of the 2 of them, and Ibaka as that awesome threat from the elbow. He catches and shoots in one motion. Those 2 guys, second and third best PER in the league, and it looks like they're rounding into form. And I just love that athleticism, that unmatched, unparalleled athleticism is back.
Yeah.
And I love watching OKC. It's such chaos watching them.
So I went last night. I would actually vote for this award. I would vote for the Paul George comeback, just because anytime you lose a year and a half of your career, which is basically what he lost, and you have the injury that he had, you don't know. Like, look at Rose. Rose has never really been the same since he blew out his knee. Different injury, but same kind of thing. Like, you lose a year, you just don't know. And I like that he's now back to being a top 7, top 8, top 9 guy. I had my guard up with it. I didn't think he was totally going to get back, but he did. So I went last night, and KD is back. I know I kept telling you that I needed to see 2 months of him playing at this level.
You wanted 20 games.
Yeah, he's back though. Like in person, watching, like athletically, like he looks exactly the same. He's got the competitiveness, and he's doing all the KD things. He's playing 100% hard, and goddamn, that team's breathtaking.
Yes,
they really are. Like, Westbrook plays so freaking hard, and you know, I always say this. I know, look, everybody's finances are different when you want to spend money on, but the 2 teams I would urge people, if you had the money and you wanted to go and just be in the arena for a basketball game this year, the Warriors, obviously, which is now an impossible ticket to get, but I would go see OKC, because who knows how long these 2 guys are going to play together. Like in this Clipper game yesterday, you know, tight game back and forth, crunch time. they run 2 straight plays for Westbrook, and then they run the last play of the game for Durant. It's like they have two of the 4 or 5 best crunch time guys in the league for either getting the basket, creating a shot, creating whatever. And it's freaking jaw dropping to watch, you know? I just thought they were going to keep going to Westbrook because he was hot. No, they run the last play for Durant coming off a screen. He jumps up. He's like 7'9" when he jumps up to shoot. Luke Mababude was trying to guard him, and Durant just jumps 7 inches over him and just gets a nice little 20-footer. And it's like, Jesus, this team's ludicrous.
It's unstoppable, right? That was the end of game sequence was what I like so much, and some credit to the Clips. I mean, that was gutsy. Are
you trolling me?
No, the interesting thing. I mean, Dion Waiters playing crunch time. I mean, Billy Donovan's not exactly getting an A+ right now either.
He's a midget vampire. Have you seen him in person? He's got to be the shortest coach in the league. He's replaced Lawrence Frank as the short. He's like this little guy who walks around. He looks like a vampire, and he's playing Dion Waiters at crunch time. Teeth.
It's true. Waiters at crunch time, and he still trots out lineups where KD or Westbrook are not, on the floor. Like one of those guys needs to be on the floor at all times.
Yeah, every minute of the game.
Every single, smart basketball person, every single person who thinks about efficiency says it's just indefensible to not have one of those 2 guys on the floor.
It's criminal.
But the turnover that the Waiters was really responsible for, and Chris Paul's conversion there at the end was kind of excellent.
Yeah.
The thing that was so predictable, they ran a great play with CP driving the lane and then dishing back to Blake for a thunder dunk. 1 possession prior. What was the step back CP3 shot? That was straight out of Doc's old Celtics playbook for an end of game shot.
I have a news flash for Doc and the Clippers. The league has caught on to the play where Chris starts on the left side of the court, dribbles to the right side, goes to his little spot at the top of the foul line on the right side, and then shoots before people realize he's going to shoot. Everyone now knows he dribbles to that spot and shoots. He was dribbling to that spot, and OKC was sending every tall guy they had just running at the spot because they knew he was going to shoot. Like, it's over. Yeah. You need a new play.
They need a new play. What was wrong with the play they ran before?
Tolan and I went, and Tolan had been away for 2 months doing a movie, so he hadn't been to a Clippers game, but he'd been watching it. And we've just watched the Clippers blow so many games over the last couple of years. Everyone in my section now expects it. Just sitting there going, how are they going to blow this? Even when they're up 3 with a minute left, is how they'll blow this. And they blew it again in like a new and improved way where they were down 1, but somehow got the steal for the go-ahead basket, but then Durant scores, then they blow. The team, it just doesn't work though with the people they have. Like DeAndre didn't really play crunch time again last night. They spent all this money on they spent all this money on DeAndre, and they still can't play him against certain lineups.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't question the judgment of paying the money to DeAndre.
Me neither.
But the bench is still. How can they not have a 3? They still don't have a 3 on that team.
You could say the same about OKC. They were trying to have like Kyle Singler. What the hell's Kyle Singler doing on an NBA team? But I don't know what the Clippers do, because I just think that nucleus now is the league has figured it out in close games. They just know how to stop it. Blake's one guy for 3 quarters and another guy for the last 6 minutes. And Chris, we said this last year. I was wondering if there was something, if he's getting old, whatever, but he does look physically, I don't know, it's like year 11 or year 12 for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. At some point, you got to start fading a tiny bit.
Well,
Westbrook athletically just looked at another level from him last night, even though Chris had a good game statistically. But
he wasn't the difference. I mean, the game came right down to the end, and the Clippers had the ball for the final game-winning possession. I mean,
they did, and it was the same terrible possession they always have.
The Clippers are not that far off. They just have been on this terrible spiral since the collapse against the Warriors. They haven't really been able to regain their stride.
Their huddles don't look right. The body language doctor did not enjoy what he saw. And by the way, the body language doctor noticed Josh Smith not joining the huddles. If he's still on the team in a week, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. What is the point of having him?
I'm not sure. That's from what I saw last night. I don't think he will be there the whole season.
At least Lance, is getting a little bit of run. He did really funny Lance things, but he also was contributing last night.
Did they show it on TV when they got a steal and 70-year-old Prigioni didn't pass to Lance cutting across the middle, and Lance jumped up and down in complete anger and disappointment and dismay right in front of the OKC bench.
They might have shown it. I don't remember it.
Oh, I was dying laughing. We were dying laughing. He's like a 9-year-old kid. It's like watching my son out there playing small forward for the Clippers, like the way his reactions to stuff. I will say this. Durant wasn't 100% excited to have Lance guarding him. And that's why Doc has to play Lance more, because he does affect the other teams. Durant was like, God damn, this guy's got man, I hate this guy.
Yeah, there's a way to channel that 9-year-old kid to make him work to your advantage.
There was one time he got mad at something and started walking over to the ref or something. He was mad at it was near the Clipper bench, and DeAndre and Blake and somebody else, they all jump up like no. Like it was like a kid walking on the crosswalk when it wasn't supposed to walk. Like people just jumping for his safety, for everyone else's safety. It is a great ongoing subplot, the Lance Stevenson era. Anyway, incredible to have KD and Russ operating at all cylinders again. I don't really like the team they put together around them. Ibaka's obviously great. Adams is interesting. He now looks like Cal Drago.
Well, Roberson's just back. By the way, I heard last night he prefers that it's pronounced Robertson. He's not Roberson. It's spelled Roberson, but you don't pronounce it Roberson.
Whatever.
He's back, and remember, he played a pretty important role last year during the stretch. KD out. He could be a little bit of an X factor.
Yeah.
For that three position.
I wonder, Donovan will get better as the year goes along, I hope. I've given up on Fred Hoiberg. He just seems like he's just lost in space. But Donovan, at least...
Well, let's do a quick thing on Hoiberg and the Bulls. You and I did this pod, the Friday Rollin last Thursday. At that moment, the Bulls were 15-8 with 3 games coming up against the Pistons, the Knicks, and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And we had a legit sort of discussion around trading Derrick Rose. Yeah. And, I argued for sort of holding the line for a moment just to see what this Chicago team's all about. Since that happened, they lost the 4 overtime game to Detroit.
Which ruined them. I think that game might have killed their season.
And Jimmy Butler, after the loss to the Knicks, calls out the coach, and then they don't show up at home against Brooklyn. And Zach Lowe's piece goes up today about chemistry issues in Chicago.
Yeah. He just spent some time.
I feel a little bad, honestly.
I love how ESPN.com promotes Barnwell and Zach every time now on the main page. It's just so hilarious. Sneaky fun story of the year.
All right.
Rondo's back, but I'm disqualifying him because the Bill Kennedy thing was also the worst story of the year. So sorry,
and
Rondo,
he's taking games off. He sucked against the Almost Bullets the other night.
He is averaging 12, 11, and 6.
Well, he scored 2 points against the Almost Bullets.
Lillard and McCollum in Portland.
That one is so interesting.
Lillard and McCollum both averaging 20 a game.
McCollum is on most improved. I don't know what award.
He's got it. He's locking it up.
Yeah, I mean he's amazing. The not reinvention, the invention of C.J. McCollum this season.
We loved him when we interviewed him. There's real value in interviewing those guys. Jalen and I loved him when we did the interview. We thought he was the most interesting guy we interviewed other than Oladipo.
Ahead of my guy, ahead of Bradley Beal at the moment. Beal gets headlines. McCollum's got game.
So, Kemba Walker, crunch time guy in a playoff team. Up, Tate got a boner. Tate, put that thing away. Put your boner away, Tate. Kemba Walker, crunch time guy. I feel vindicated because coming out of UConn, just like that guy's got something, man. He doesn't. Yeah. He's
fearlessness.
Fearlessness. Yeah, not afraid.
Not afraid.
I like having him in the mix. Dirk on a 50-win team potentially, putting up a 17-7, borderline 50, 40, 90.
Another Dirk. And
then Drummond we mentioned, and then my vote for sneaky fun story of the year. Warriors, 26-1. Oh my God. The Spurs are only 2 wins behind them. The Spurs are 24-5.
They also have their differential is also in the same stratosphere.
Yeah.
Historically unprecedented stratosphere.
The offensive defensive efficiency. The Spurs are 15 points better offensively than what they're giving up defensively. The Spurs are plus 14.
Yeah.
They're pretty much right there. I mean, and that's the thing with these hot starts is all it takes is you go, 1 3-game trip where you go 1-2 or 0-3, and then all of a sudden that magical start you had starts to look like everybody else's record. And the Spurs have done a nice job of kind of lurking. I don't think they care about the 1 seed or the 2 seed. But what's interesting for me as a basketball fan, as a gambler, as somebody who loves big pictures, I don't want to play OKC in round 2. Do you?
Oh, I think they do care about the 1 seed or the 2 seed. I think last year.
Do you want to play OKC in round 2?
Yes, this is what I'm getting at. I think last year was a wake up call for the Spurs. They ended up with a bad draw and lost in the first round. I mean, I think they do care. And how about this? This is the nugget I like so much. They haven't lost at home this season.
And it's
not that they just haven't lost.
Yeah.
They've been wiping people's rear ends all up and down the floor there in San Antonio.
I love it. So OKC, and then who's the 4th team? I guess it would be like the Clippers or the Rockets. I mean, that is such a round 2 drop off. If I'm the Spurs, I'm going for the 1 seed if I can get it, because I don't want OKC. I don't want any part of that team. I think the West might have the 3 best teams. I think I like all 3 of those teams better than I like Cleveland.
I don't. I don't have Oklahoma City ahead of Cleveland. I honestly think Cleveland healthy gives the Warriors the best challenge in the league, and I think the Spurs have a slight edge over Cleveland. That's the way I rank it.
I'm with you if I know Kyrie's healthy.
Yep. That's it.
Would you trade Chris Paul for Kyrie?
No, come on. No.
Okay.
No. The reason is the difference in age.
Okay.
I mean, Kyrie hasn't played a full season of basketball since he was 7 years old. But other than that,
Kyrie just got hurt right now trying to download the podcast. He just broke his finger.
But what he can do offensively by himself, and what he did last year, I'll never, ever, never forget that performance against the Spurs last year.
Yeah, it was great.
That's gonna stick in my head for a lifetime. So I give him benefit of the doubt.
Quickly, just some stats. Most Amazing Warrior stat: 24-0 wins for Most Amazing Warrior stat so far. Some sad news: Steph is no longer in the 32-5-5-5 what the fuck club.
Oh, what happened?
Now he dropped down to 31.8 points, and he's only making 4.9 threes a game now. So he's got some work to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Draymond 7.1 assists. We talked about that. The Warriors are still 13 for 30 every game from 3-point land, making 42% of them.
It's a good number.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The red flag stats of the year.
Oh.
Yeah. Your boy Otto Porter shooting 27.4% from 3.
Oh.
I think that's got to be part of your trouble. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm leaving him open. Please take that, Otto.
It hurts.
Zebo, one of your favorites. You've always loved him. He's dipped under 13 points a game now, and he's 46% shooting. Not good signs.
Not strong.
Not good. He's been in the league for a long time. I think we're coming.
Look, at some point the grit and grind catches up.
Yeah. Goran Dragic.
A lot of grit and grind.
Goran Dragic signed for like $90 million a year. He's putting up an 11-5 right now. Now, part of that's how they use him, but I'm still worried about that.
I find that situation slightly confusing.
It's the wrong team for him. They should actually trade him for like a spot up shooter guy. Right?
And there's a bunch of teams that need the type of point guard that he is.
I would take him. I love Goran Dragic.
Seems like there's a trade out there.
Dwight Howard. We talked about the fall of Dwight, but he's averaging 8 field goal attempts a game and 6 free throw attempts a game. You know, I like looking at that stuff with centers. When centers stop being active, the first thing the things that drop are blocks, field goal attempts, free throw attempts. And
someone who's trying to get in touch. Is that Dwight on
was
the other
calling.
end?
He was like, no, I'm not done yet. Dwight has reached a point. I don't know if anyone has done studies like this yet, but Dwight has reached a point where statistically it is now very improbable that he returns to an All-NBA level. This happened to Jermaine O'Neal a few years ago. I remember writing about it maybe 10 years ago. When there's like a dramatic drop-off statistically, it's really tough for the person to then come back and make it up.
I think the thrust of, but here's the point, right? The thrust of Dwight's complaint with his situation in Houston right now is he doesn't have the opportunity to take more shots. He's only getting 8 attempts a game because James Harden is holding on to the ball for 48 possessions, and the other guys have to touch the ball once in a while.
Dwight, have you seen Dwight run?
Well, the thing that I would say, forget how he runs. I won't forgive him this season for that play where he was running down the lane. He's halfway inside the free throw line with his head looking straight towards the basket, and I don't remember who passed him the ball. It hit him in the shoulder because he wasn't looking at the ball as he entered the lane.
That. Yeah. It's also, he's not finishing around the rim with explosive dunks anymore. That era is just gone. He's 30, but he feels like a very old 30. Like when Larry Bird was 30, he was like winning, I think, his second MVP. This Dwight has aged almost child actorish, at least from what we've seen. I'm not totally ready to write him off completely and say he's never going to get back, but the evidence is starting to mount that it's just not going to come back. And if he opts out of his contract this year, I know the salary cap's going way up, but I just wouldn't feel good about giving him $20 million a year.
Somebody's going to do it.
Somebody's going to do it. It's going to be stupid. Kobe Bryant, 34% field goal, 24.7% from three-point field goal, even though he's taking 7.2 a game, 12.7 PR. You think that's really bad, right? Derrick Rose.
It is really bad. I know you're going. I knew D-Rose was going to be next.
The 50-40-90 club that we've come to appreciate with Steve Nash, Dirk, all those guys. Derrick Rose is working on the 37-22-70 club.
Here's the thing.
37-22-70.
He had his eye bone broken.
Know. It's just a terrible
broken eye
season.
bone.
I know. I'm not.
He was sat in a dark room for 2 weeks.
Then don't play.
I'm not arguing with that. I think that there is some merit to that. Healthy. Or go play D League and get it back.
His PR is under 10, 9.7, which would be awful. Like historically, like, oh my God, remember the year Derrick Rose's PR was under 10 when he wasn't even 30 years old yet. But Joe Johnson, 34.5 minutes a game, 35% field goal percentage, 10.8 points a game. So for every 3 minutes he plays, he scores a point. 9.1 PER. He's basically a corpse. He's basically dead. He's a dead person running up and down.
A $30 million corpse.
And we have their pick, and somehow they're 8-20, and I can't figure it out. It's like Thaddeus Young and Jared Jack and Brooke Lopez just made a pact to win 30 games together, and I'm so pissed off about it.
I do think they're going to win between 27 and 32 games.
So what's your red flag stat of all those? Probably maybe Dragic, just because it's so weird. 11.
Yeah, the Dragic thing is so hard. I don't understand it. I know folks are laying some of the blame, and it seems like it's proper on Coach Spoelstra.
Yeah.
For running a system that doesn't allow him to flourish. But there's a personnel kind of issue there in Miami. They got something up their sleeve.
Feels like a trade waiting to happen. Can you trade Dragic after you gave him 80 to 90 million, whatever they gave him?
I don't know what the rules are. We have to ask somebody smart like Nate Duncan or somebody.
We have to rip through these. Most fortuitous transaction: the Knicks not making a trade with their 2015 lottery pick and getting Zinger. The Mavs being devastated they didn't get DeAndre, and then they get Zaza and Darren Williams, which is, anyone makes that trade, right? Zaza has 11 rebounds. He's basically matching DeAndre's stats. Charlotte stole Nick Batum, which we talked about last week. He's only 26 years old.
God, he's good.
The Portland fans, I got a couple emails from Portland. People are like, good, I don't care if he's doing well. Screw that guy. He sucks. A lot of that coming from Portland. And then how about Colangelo taking over the Sixers and getting to be the hero if things turn around, and if things don't turn around, he could just blame Sam Hinkie. I wish I had that job.
things are going to turn around. Of course,
Yeah.
there's only one direction they can go. They've hit bottom. They can't go any lower.
What better job than to be the guy who replaced Sam Hinkie?
Right. It's nothing but upside.
You just blame him if anything goes wrong. Most fascinating non-playoff subplots. Can the Lakers stay in the 2 spot for the lottery? Because if they go to 3, that becomes very easy for them to get jumped. If they're at 2 teams would have to jump them to lose their pick. Much less realistic.
I mean, they're there. There's nobody else within the Nets and the Pelicans.
The Nets
are the closest.
The Nets have the Brook Lopez injury possibility.
Or trade, I guess.
Yeah, something. If you're New Orleans, do you pull a 97 Spurs and come up with a fake injury for Anthony Davis?
And trade away
just trade him, just tank.
Rhino and trade away Eric Gordon. I kind of like that. I really do. For the Pelicans, they have to do something about their guard situation to get the best out of Anthony Davis. You can't have 50 game a season Drew Holiday and not sure whether he's a small forward, shooting guard, or point guard Tyreek Evans as the guards.
They're 8-19. They have the 4th worst record in the league. If Boston offered the Brooklyn pick to Milwaukee for Jabari Parker, does Milwaukee say yes or no?
That's interesting. If I was running Milwaukee, I would say yes.
Okay.
All right,
we'll throw in Jerebko. Fine. Jerebko and the Brooklyn pick.
What would you say?
It's. I'm not sure the Bucks need Jabari.
Yeah, they're.
I'm not positive he needs to be on that team.
I've been disappointed by the inconsistency. People forecasted that they were due for
not me
a downturn. I was stubborn about it. You and Zach Lowe both, and I was stubborn, arguing the other side of it. I was wrong. They are inconsistent. The 2 games they played against Golden State is the version of the Bucks that I expected to see all season long. That's a team that's right there in the thick of things in the East. Instead, they just don't show up some nights, and I don't like that.
Quickly, bench guy of the year, with apologies to Clint Capella, Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter quietly averaging 11-8 in 20 minutes a game.
Yeah,
Zach LaVine, Kelly Olynyk, Will Barton.
Yeah, the answer is Will Barton.
15-7, 40% from 3. Who the hell is Will Barton?
Bit of break.
Every time I see the Nuggets, it's like, who is this guy? Where'd he come from?
By the way, Nuggets sneakily fun to watch because Gallo's back.
Yeah, they're not bad. I think they thought they were going to be awful, and they're not. They're actually they have good guys in their team.
I thought 27 was like the ceiling for wins for them. They
play hard.
Kind of sneaky fun to watch.
Yeah, they're lingering in the 8 seed conversation because the West is so weird. The McKeskey Award is down to 2 worthy candidates. This is the award I give out every year to the best white guy in the league. Now, Europeans, you can't count. Porzingis, not eligible. Foreigners, no. It's got to be an American white guy.
Foreigners aren't white under your...
No, this is an American white guy. It's the McKeskey Award.
American white guys, that's fine.
Kevin Love and Gordon Hayward. It's a 2-man race right now.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward quietly with a 19-5 every game and 44, 42, 81 splits. A little bit better than what Kevin Love's doing. Rookie of the year, Towns has it pretty much locked up. The zinger, Towns is 16-9. He's a borderline 50, 40, 90 guy. He's putting up blocks, huge PR, all that stuff. And if he totally passes the eye test, he's just really, really polished for a 19-year-old kid.
Complete player already.
Zinger is not in the conversation.
No.
And then
it's good for the Knicks.
One other thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know where this stands. I remember Shaq and Kobe might have been the last guys that did this. KD and Russ are averaging 52.2 points a game combined.
Yeah.
14.5 rebounds a game combined, and 13.7 assists combined.
Yeah.
Russ is averaging a 25, 9, and 6. Only Oscar Robertson has ever done that.
Yeah.
And KD is putting up 52, 43, 88 splits.
Yeah.
Magical combination by those two so far.
Yeah. Is anybody else out there got a $500 parlay on the Warriors and Thunder over? This guy does.
So anyway, good season so far. Really interesting.
Yeah.
I think the highlights for me, other than the Warriors, are KD and Russ being back. and Towns being good, Porzingis being interesting, the Spurs being the Spurs, and some real drama with the West, where you have three potentially just killer teams and two teams having to go to war. We had this last year a little bit with Spurs Clippers, but the three teams that are in the mix this year, I think, are better than those Spurs Clipper teams.
What we love is, the season starts in earnest on Christmas. That's when the NBA really legitimately gets going. And the way things have kind of shook out here so far in the first 8 weeks here, great storylines with the rookies, some disappointments, but teams that can redeem themselves. I'm looking at you Houston mother sons of guns.
Yeah.
And, kind of a radical re-rack of strength between the two conferences from Christmas on. It's going to be a good one.
The Christmas games. The first one's Pelicans Heat on ESPN. I'll be skipping that one. Bulls Thunder at 11:30 Pacific time, so 2:30 East Coast time. That's a pretty good one.
It's a good one because the Bulls really need to do something to prove to themselves. They have such shaky internal confidence. It's so weird for guys that have been in the league for a long time.
Yeah, the roster doesn't make sense.
It's the Butler as leader proposition that feels awkward about.
But you also have Mirotic is really like a stretch four, but he's not. He doesn't make threes, and I don't totally know what position he is. But you can't really play him with McDermott together. But Noah and Gasol are weird together. They have all these guys that doesn't totally fit when they're together. Also, look out for an annual Christmas tradition, because this was something that I noticed the 2 years that I was on the show. The ESPN game is going on ESPN, and the ABC game is going 2.5 hours later after the early start for the whatever. And they have the countdown pregame show on ABC going head to head against real basketball on ESPN, which makes no sense at all. It's one of the dumbest things ever. It's one of my favorite traditions. The second year I wanted to actually just do it shirtless and see if anyone noticed or was watching, because I don't think anyone watches. Cavs Warriors, 5 o'clock East Coast time. In Oracle.
Yeah.
Kyrie in the house. What a game that's going to be. Oh, what
a game that's going to be.
Ooh. That's followed by Spurs Rockets and then Clips Lakers, which will just be,
Clips Lakers is my
bummer.
food coma. Let the red wine do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
10 o'clock at night. On the couch.
Yeah.
That's my on the couch game. But the Spurs Rockets, always a little feisty, should be a good one.
Fun one.
And the epic Warriors. I'm disappointed that the streak isn't still going, but on the other hand, this is it still is no less fascinating.
No, it'll be good, and I'm going to be interested to see how the Cavs approach the go big or go small thing. You can make a case they just play LeBron at the 5.
I bet they go big.
I think they'll go big, and they'll try it, and the Warriors will torch it, and then at some point there will be a LeBron at the 5 lineup that will get everybody fired up.
The thing that'll be fun to watch is whether or not the Dubs get any offensive rebounds at all. I mean, if Cleveland controls the boards the way they did in the first really 3 games of the finals last year, then it's a dogfight. Then it's last possession time. It's the sequence from 2 minutes left until the end of the game.
House, before we do NFL picks, remember you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. You can catch up on any episodes you missed at BillSimmonsPodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Channel 33 podcast featuring pop culture podcasts and interviews from former Grantlanders, Andy Greenwald, Juliet Lebman, and Chris Ryan, as well as some NBA podcasts and even some occasional cameos from me. We will have that Heat podcast, me and Chris Ryan, 20th anniversary. It's going to be before the end of the year. You can follow Channel 33 on Twitter at Channel 33 and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. All right, Week 16 picks. Let's do our NFL picks really quickly.
Sure.
So we're narrowing it down to 3 games because there's too much time till the games. And
by the way, I'm going to make a motion that we only do 3 games next season, assuming we do this next season.
Well, if we do this next season, we have to actually keep track of our picks. I think that would help, or at least do a best bet. I think we should agree on a best bet that we do every week, our combined best bet. Let's start that this week, actually. All right. You have Cards and the Packers. Cards in Arizona. Laying 4.5. There's going to be 25,000 Packer fans in the house, maybe 30,000. Who do you have?
I'm fine with it. I love the Cards. The number is 4.5. I would take the Cards all the way up to 6.5. Green Bay is coming off of 3 straight up and against the spread wins against awful teams: Dallas, Oakland, Detroit, and it took a miracle to beat Detroit to get the against the spread thing. There is a nice angle out there. My boy Big Al feeding it to me. A great favorite like Zona, 56-22 since 1980 against the spread in this situation.
Yeah.
I like the Zona Cardinals.
I'm staying away only because I think teams get bummed out when there's 30,000 of the other team's fans in the stadium. Always makes me nervous.
Right.
I have the Eagles are playing your Washington professional football team.
Yep.
The Eagles are laying 3 points.
They are.
I think the Eagles stink. I think the Patriots were about to beat them 45-10 until they did the stupid onside kick, and then a block, and all of a sudden they have 3 return touchdowns, and everybody thinks the Eagles might be good, and they had pride, and really that was a fluke game that probably is going to happen once every 5 years. I like your Washington team. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they're a little frisky. I like when they get points. I think they're in bad shape when they're the favorites and when they're supposed to win, but I think when they're not supposed to win and they're getting points, I kind of like them. And I don't know. I just think your team's better.
The defense is much improved for the DC Grunes, and that was the thing that had me select a delicious over on the season total. 6.5 was the number. 7 came through on Sunday. Cash winner for the daddy. Yeah, I like where they're at. I honestly have stayed away from wagering on them the entire season long because there's such a discrepancy between them on the road and at home. And I'm going to stay away from this one as well because they're on the road. But
do you win the NFC East if you win?
The Eagles suck. They suck. Yes, outright win the NFC East if they win.
I think it's over. The only thing I'd worry about is the NFL rigging this game somehow so that there's a Week 17 Giants-Eagles game that matters.
And Dallas-Washington game that matters.
You have the Bills-Cowboys. The Cowboys getting 6 in Buffalo. I have no idea why you would select this game, pick it, care about it. What's your incentive here?
Well, and I had 2 of these last week and lost both of them. Buffalo, Dallas by anything less than a touchdown, I just take the other side. That's it. We're at the point of the season where I'm getting less than a touchdown. Buffalo's at home. Yeah. I like just a plain old touchdown cover. Funny stat: the Bills 33-13 against the spread when they're coming off back-to-back against the spread losses. Recently 7-0 in that spot. So Bills favored by less than a touchdown over the Cowboys. I take the Bills.
Obviously a stay away, and I think you're a dumbass for even going near that game. Jets, Pats laying 3.5 in New York. Must win for the Jets. They're suddenly on the outside looking in the playoffs. The Pats are banged up, which worries me. But here's what worries me even more. I'm not positive the 1 seed makes sense for the Pats.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why is that? Who's going to be in the 6, Pittsburgh or Denver?
Let's say Pittsburgh's 5 and KC's 6.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the 2 seed. We're guaranteed to play the AFC West team in round 1 unless the 6 seed beats the AFC West team. Right?
Got it.
If they have the 1 seed, they're basically playing the best wild card team in round 2. You could argue the best wild card team, which is almost definitely going to be Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's the second best team in the AFC right now.
Yeah.
If they're the 2 seed, if they're the 1 seed, they're guaranteed to play Pittsburgh in round 2 unless the 6 seed upsets the 3 seed. If the 6 seed doesn't upset the 3 seed, they would play they'd play Denver or KC, whoever. But
so the 6 seed could really upset the 3 seed because isn't the 3 seed going to be Houston or Indy?
The 4 seed is going to be Houston or Indy. So they play the best wild card.
Keep track of these rules. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
My point is, I don't think the 1 seed really matters. And if the Pats are banged up and they have Amendola hurt and Gronk's I could just see them throwing this game away.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like the Belichick way.
Yeah, he's done weird stuff in the past.
I don't like 3.5. I like it better at 3.
I don't see this isn't like, hey guys, we got to win this. We clinched the 1 seed. It just something about it scares me. And I think the Jets played them really well the last time. They have a good defensive line. They can rush Brady up the middle. The Pats are really banged up. Like now Chunk's hurt. I don't know how many guys we can lose. This feels like a 3-point game to me. There's a bunch of red flags with this, and I think the Jets at least cover.
All right.
The last one we both agree on. Let's make this our best bet of the week. Seahawks, Rams. Right. The Rams are getting 13 points in the land of Seattle. Who do you have?
I have the Seattle Seahawks. I have seen enough over the last 5 weeks from them. The pedal is to the metal. I took the Browns last week. That was dumb. 14.5 just felt like too much. The even with Manziel, and the obvious frailties of Cleveland, and Cleveland kind of hung in there, but Russell Wilson is on a tear right now. I don't want to get in the way of it. I'm happy to lay the points. I want the Seahawks.
I thought you were going the Rams with that one. I like the Rams.
You taking the Rams?
No, I was going to.
The Rams are not afraid to lose big by.
They're not. They the
triple digits, by the way. Yeah. I've had enough of Jeff Fisher this season. That's all.
I'm going to stay away from that one.
Oh, you're going to make it a best bet, but then I took Seahawks, and now you're out.
You took the Rams, I was going to get excited and take the Rams with you, but no, you didn't take them. So
I'm not taking them.
Yeah, so I'm going to take. I had a backup pick just in case.
Not going against Seattle anymore.
Yeah, you're probably in good shape with that strategy. I'm going to take the Giants in Minnesota +7.
Oh, sure.
Sunday night game. No Odell Beckham. You know what? Screw it. I changed my pick again.
Again?
Yeah, you sweet. I'm gonna take Monday night.
Oh.
The Broncos only laying 3.5 points at home to AJ McCarron.
I looked at this one long and hard. I felt like singing because it's holiday time. But Osweiler McCarron.
Yeah. If you watch that Cincy game closely last week, like it's not like they had a lot of drives. They just he kind of managed the game, and they put him in a like. What if they're down 10-0 and he's in Denver and he's got to actually start making some plays? I don't know if they're getting Eifert back. That line seems low to me. I thought it was going to be Broncos by 6 or something, so I'm going to take Denver. House.
Bone-in rib roast tastes so good. Yeah, it's prime rib time. What's on the menu for you?
My mom, Christmas Eve dinner, Chateaubriand.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Of course, Chateaubriand. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And some porch pies. What about you? What's on the menu for you?
A delicious rib roast where I'm going to have a little sliced turkey, a little sliced ham, and it's delicious. This is going to be the coup de grace. I'm going to cook it for the first time. If you have any recipes, any of your fancy meat people, Jimmy Kimmel's a fancy meat guy, your Adam Perry Lang can send me a rib roast recipe. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm jumping right in the pool for some delicious prime rib, a Christmas dinner.
Is it going to be one of those things where you have to take all your clothes off after?
Yes, red wine, rib roast, and the Clippers-Lakers pants down.
All right, House. A fascinating I guess we have one more 2015 podcast, right?
Yeah, Daddy.
Yeah, we got one next week. All right. Thanks to SeatGeek, the presenting sponsor of the BS podcast, as well as our favorite place to buy and sell tickets. Go to SeatGeek.com/BS to learn how to buy and sell on SeatGeek. Don't forget the free SeatGeek app. Enter promo code BS. SeatGeek will send you $20 once you made your first purchase. Thanks to HBO. They were nice enough to give me my own television show that launches next spring. Thanks, HBO. Download the HBO Now app. Start your free 1-month trial today. Don't forget about the Channel 33 podcast. Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan are posting best of the year stuff. We're going to do my Heat podcast that I did with Chris Ryan. We're going to do that next week, I think, because we're going to need that more next week than this week. If that changes, I will tweet. And that's it for the BS podcast. Happy holidays. Thanks for spreading the word. It's been a very interesting 2015, but I'm glad we were able to get the podcast going. You can subscribe to it on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas.
We about this bitch. Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture me rolling.